welcome back to Beginner Adult Hockey. I apologize about my voice in advance. I am just getting over a cold, but today I wanted to talk a little bit about something I actually got a request for on YouTube and something I didn't realize I had never done before, which is to tell you more about my hockey journey, kind of how I got into hockey, because as beginners, as adults, we all come into this in very different ways. So I'm going to tell you about my journey, and then I want to hear about your journey as well. So I first started playing in 2015, and I know that was 9 years ago, and I still consider myself a beginner, but I'll tell you my story and why I still consider myself sort of a beginner. So I started dating my boyfriend in 2013, and he has been playing hockey his whole life. He grew up in Buffalo, New York. He played juniors. He did all that. So he's still really, really good. When we started dating, I really didn't know anything about hockey. Where I grew up, we had an ECHL team. And so, we would occasionally go to those games, but I never really thought about it. It was fun. And then I'd leave and not think about hockey anymore. So when I started dating, his name's Eric. When we started dating in 2013, I really got into this world, and we spent weekends at tournaments, and I was always in the stands. I was, one of the women in the stands, and it was interesting to me, and I was learning about this new thing. And it wasn't until 2015 though, because I grew up not an athlete. I did a lot of sports when I was a kid, but I was never very good at them. I was always the person who tried really hard, but I just wasn't an athlete. And as soon as I figured out in high school that I didn't have to do sports, I just quit all of them. So I'm not a traditional athlete, and I never loved athletics growing up. I never liked it. So what happened was I would go to these tournaments with him, and I never considered playing hockey, but I enjoyed watching it. I loved the camaraderie afterwards. I loved seeing the game and learning about the game and all that. So what happened a couple years later, it was 2015, was we were out at a friend's birthday party, and Eric played with a woman. One woman on his team. She'd been playing her whole life, which is kind of rare back then, because there are more and more girls sports now, but 20, 30 years ago, you did not have that many girls in hockey. So she was like, hey, you should play with us. And I was like, no, are you crazy? I'm not playing hockey. But I started thinking about it, and I started kind of researching what I needed to do. And there was actually a women's team in the town I was in. I was in Green Bay, Wisconsin at the time. And actually that women's team, it was one team at the time, all skill levels. And now I think they have like 6 or 8 teams of all skill levels. So it's grown that much really just in the last 10 years, which is amazing to see. But the reason I joined is because they actually had practice. And so what I did for one season, so maybe only like 10 weeks, is I went to practice. I never played in one of their games. Well, I shouldn't say that. I didn't play in most of their games. I just went to practice. And then very last game of the season, I went out there and I played, and I was horrible and it was terrible, but I did it, and I felt really good about doing it. And women are so supportive, where they'd be like, okay, line up over here. Oh, you're standing in the wrong place. Oh, hold your stick like this. And so I did a video on women starting hockey, and of course we are very supportive. So sometimes it's a different journey than when men start as adults, but it is nice to have people out there that are really supporting you. So I did that one year, 2015. We ended up moving to Toledo, Ohio, and I didn't even think about getting into hockey there. We were only there for a year. We moved to Bend, Oregon after that. We move a lot, just so you know. We moved to Bend, Oregon after that, and I don't know if you've been to Bend, Oregon. They have one sheet of ice, and it's outdoors. So basically, they put the ice in October. The adult leagues don't start till after Thanksgiving. And then the ice is done basically mid-March. So you really get, and of course, everybody wants the ice. So you really get like 10 games. You get your night, and that's your night for 10 weeks, and that's your league. And so when I joined, I was lucky. I've really gotten lucky because I had the women's league the first time. It was like 2 or 3 years later in Bend that I really decided to pick it up again. And so I was on the D League. I got lucky that there was actually a D League, which was a true beginner's league. And I will tell you, we were horrible. Like, none of us could skate. We would all skate towards each other, and then we would all fall, and I'm sure it was hilarious to watch. But that is really where I got into it again. And I'm so thankful for that. So I played that for one season. Next season, I signed up, I played one game, and then I got in a weird freak hockey accident really disgusting. I'm not going to go into it right now, but I broke a couple of my fingers, and so I ended up taking the rest of the season off. I couldn't play anymore. So then we ended up moving again, and we moved to Boise, Idaho, which is actually my hometown, and I was lucky that I found another women's league. So I joined the women's league and I played that, but I also found a co-ed league. And we were actually super lucky because we got to play downtown, which is the rink that the ECHL team, the Idaho Steelheads, play at. And I just found a team that was so supportive of everything. You know, we were not always the best. We're in the C League, but it was just, we had fun, and we went into it knowing we were going to have fun. We didn't always win. Actually, we rarely won. But it was just a good time because we had such a wide range of skills, all C League-ish skills, although we did have maybe 3 or 4 players that also played in intermediate league. But it was fun. This was 2020. So COVID happened, obviously, and we all got shut down for however long we all got shut down. The women's league, I actually never went back to women's league, but I stayed with my team downtown, and as things started opening up again, it was hilarious because, like, we had to wear masks for a little while playing, but they actually pulled the stands back in the arena. I mean, it's an arena. It's a hockey arena. They pulled some of the stands back, and so we would get dressed, like, on the side of the rink in chairs, and we were all, 6 feet separated, and so we did that for, like, a year. And I learned to get dressed really, really fast because they would only give us 15 minutes to get dressed. And it used to take me like 45 minutes to get dressed, and I was on top of it. I was pretty fast after that. So that's one thing I will attribute to the whole pandemic, is that I'm really fast at getting dressed for hockey now. But I did that for a couple years, and honestly, that is the best team I've ever been on. I still miss them because we ended up moving last year. And so I really haven't found my place in our new town. I subbed for, I don't know why there's quotation marks. I subbed for the women's league in our new town, and that was fine, but I never really found like my home, and all the women are great, but I think next year what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually join the women's league. I've watched the co-ed leagues here and they seem a little bit rough. And so I don't really necessarily like to join leagues like that. Like I like to have fun and get out there and exercise, and I don't want to get, checked into the boards in, co-ed men's league. And so I learned not to do that. One thing I will add though, is that probably 2 years ago when I was in Boise, I was, Eric, again, he's been reffing for like 5 or 6 years. He's really good at it because he's a really good skater. He understands hockey. He knows all the rules. And so I was watching a tournament probably 2 years ago, and it was just a women's tournament, and not just a women's tournament. It was an amazing women's tournament. And there was a guy I knew that was about the same level of skating as me, about the same level of player, and he decided to ref. And so I was watching him and I was like, you know what? If he could do that, I could do it, right? I mean, I know that's weird inspiration, but it was inspiration. And so I decided to sign up for it. And, I'm so glad I did. Well, I'll tell you, but I don't ref as much anymore, but I love learning the skills. I love going through the rule book. I know that's super silly, nerdy, but I like to learn this kind of stuff. And so we had a really good association in Boise and really good people that just wanted to teach you. And I'm so thankful for that, because that is, I got into the reffing and I understood what it was. And actually that's where I got the inspiration to start this channel, because I was like, oh, I should do my ref journey. And Eric was like, well, why don't you just do your whole hockey journey? Teach people how to play hockey as beginners. And I was like, oh, that's a really good idea. So anyways, I reffed, I think 20 games my first year, but then we moved. And so I really haven't gone back into it. I've reffed a couple games here, but they're all women's. And so it's kind of my own league. And so I either play or I ref, but I don't really feel comfortable reffing above that. So I really have kind of not done it as much, but I am thankful that I did it. And I'm not sure I'm going to renew my crest next year. I'm kind of going back and forth on it, but I wouldn't take it back for anything, because I think it's amazing. And I think that you learn so much more about hockey, and it's really great. So one additional thing to my hockey journey is I decided, weirdly out of the blue last year, just to do my own hockey tournament. I didn't love it. So dealing with 150 hockey players and all their personalities is a little bit rough. So I don't think I'm going to do that again. However, I did take a group of hockey players to Europe just a couple weeks ago. We did Prague, we did Vienna, and we played with local Czech players. So I think I'm going to be doing one of those about once a year. Here's just a couple videos of it, but it was super fun just to learn and meet local players there. And that was really the point, is to expand international relations, I guess, through hockey. So that kind of a side note to that is that we actually rented ice this weekend. I'm very excited because it's the first time we rented ice, and oh my God, ice is expensive. Why is it so expensive? But we are going to go out and actually film some videos for both reffing and for playing. So I'm going to have those videos coming up in the next couple weeks as well. I'm really excited about it. Anyways, that is my hockey journey. That is where I am. I am not at my peak yet, I like to think, because I am a certain age and I feel like I can still get better and I'm always working on it. But I also understand I'm never going to get to a level where I'm amazing, where I'm ever going to move out of C-League. And I'm okay with that because I have a lot of fun and I really enjoy it. And I've actually learned so much with this channel because I've been, looking up the rules and I've been making sure, I'm doing everything right. So I've enjoyed kind of this journey as well. But I want to hear your hockey journey. I want to know kind of where you went and where you are now and why you got started in the first place. And I do find that a lot of adults who start, they either love the NHL and they love a team, or they have kids that play, or they have a spouse who plays or a partner who plays or something like that. And that was my journey. But it's not always the case. I've met a couple people that were just like, you know what? I just decided to do it. And that's great. And so we all come to this in a different way, but I would love to hear your journey on how you got into hockey. And don't forget to let me know about any other videos you'd like to see, and subscribe and like below and all of that. And I'll talk to you next time.